Welcome to fall quarter. This is Professor York. John York's my name. Some people will call me Dr. Y. There's a little bit about my background. I am teaching B454, and I'm bringing to you a wealth of my experience working in marketing, both as a marketer in-house for several pharmaceutical companies, as well as running my own client service business and working for another agency over the last 18 years. I bring both science background with a pharmacy degree from the University of Michigan, but I also have supplemented with an MBA from Kelley School of Business and also 2 certificates out of University of California, Berkeley. This is actually my 12th class at Cal Poly, and actually the 6th time I've been teaching this type of format of class, which is more of a studio, but I want to say a client-based class. In addition, I do teach down at UC San Diego in their I-Corps program, which is National Science Foundation Innovation Program. I'm the lead instructor as well. My email is below, and hours for office hours will be on Monday at noon to 1. However, if you'd like to get a hold of me, by all means, email and we'll set up a time that we can meet either live or vis-a-vis Zoom. Why are we taking this class? Why is this class important? You've been exposed to wonderful marketing curricula in your marketing-focused major. I think you have at least 5 or 6 prerequisites before coming into this class. What this class is about is working with real businesses and real clients and real problems and applying what you know, and then also searching out in terms of new things you need to know to take care of your client's marketing challenge. So I think one of the things out of this class is really great is the ability to translate what you've learned in the textbook into, let's take it into the real world. So I call this a translation to practice, moving from the work world, from the school world to the work world. So what are we going to try to accomplish here? And in this class, what we will look at is a variety of skills. You'll learn about client engagement and have that experience working with a client. You'll develop a scope of work and you will refine it. And we'll talk about that in our scoping lecture. We'll develop project plan. You all I know have worked in teams, but you will refine your team skills. You'll get to doing problem solving, using market research skills, strategy and tactical skills, and presentation. I know in this class you'll have at minimum 3 set presentations. So real skills for the real world. So this is sort of an outline of the course. The first week we will form the team and get engaged with the client. Then from there, in the after that first meeting with the client, which literally you'll be doing it in that first week, you'll be refining your scope of work and getting that scope of work signed off by client. You'll be presenting your first client engagement literally by class 4. Then it's about doing the work. And throughout the class, we will be working together for us to be able to monitor our progress, along with identifying what gaps are there relative to knowledge, skills, etc. And you'll be presenting updates in class. You'll have a midterm presentation, but we will be using a number of the sessions for coaching for you to provide updates to me with queries about, okay, I have this problem or I have this challenge, how we address this. And then ultimately you will, at the end of the journey in December, complete your work with recommendations and an action plan. So on this class schedule, just a quick note, and you'll see it in the syllabus. First is live classes. Live classes will be Mondays and the first 2 Wednesdays. We will be using Zoom a lot more due to some of the requirements I have to be traveling to manage the business that I run, and I have clients to handle as well. But I don't want to forsake that time with you, and as a result, we will set up team sessions via Zoom. We'll do debriefs and presentations. We'll spend coaching time, and most of these will be on Wednesday. So one of the things I would encourage you is to sign up for Zoom using a Cal Poly account. Not the free account, but the Cal Poly account. And Cal Poly has a subscription with Zoom so that faculty and students can be able to utilize and use the full version. That's because you may have meetings that go beyond 30 minutes. So you want to make sure you can do that. If you run into problems, let me know. Or what I will do is get you in touch with Teresa Cameron to help troubleshoot getting that secure. Okay, PolyLearn. This will be our home base. A lot of things will be posted on the overview section. Okay, and most notable, I like to use announcements to post on a variety of things going on. Whether grades are up or whether a rubric is up, that's what we are going to use. In addition, we will have client background information. You'll see that open for you to peruse. You will have schedule and deliverable due dates, and we'll have other important sections such as assignments, team formation, and academic materials and readings. Now, two things that I think would be good to get your hands on. I think I have that folder open. There are links to Amazon, is the readings. And the two readings that are critical to this course in terms of books are The Art of Client Service by Robert Solomon, who has been an advertising executive in New York City. And it's a very short but practical book. The second is The McKinsey Engagement by Paul Friga, and he is a professor at North Carolina, although he worked for McKinsey for a number of years. For those who are in a social media class, a project, I will have an alternative book for you. Probably it will be the book from the Social Media Boot Camp by Chris Deneher, who actually came out of P&G and now runs a very large social media training company. And she is an expert relative to social media because it's going to be important to learn about the strategy of social media. Whereas McKinsey will be used for teams that are working on more classic consulting projects or problem-solving projects. In addition, as you see on the bottom, I have 3 readings that will be either Class 2 or Class 3, and those will complement the presentation that we will have on what makes for good presentations. And this is very important because you'll be having 3 presentations, and there's a little bit more weight on these presentations in this quarter versus past quarters. And I will include a lecture or 2 as needed. And these are just some of the different topics, but these are going to be driven by you. I will have some set lectures to debrief on the Art of Client Service as well as a consultant toolkit. I do have a lecture on social media as well, but a lot of lecture material and backup material for you will be based on what your needs are. For instance, when I taught the Project and Social Media class last year, what happened was the team was a little rusty on SEO, so I put together an hour lecture on SEO to have a better understanding of that concept. But most of the work's going to be done by you. You're going to be working teams, okay, and in class, out of class, doing research in the field. They're going to be very critical in terms of interviewing customers and their customers, engaging with your clients, and doing market research in the library. So this is definitely a learn by doing class. So how can I be successful in this class, you're probably wondering. I'll give you a few tips. First of all, remember what your personal deliverables are. This is listed out. These are listed out over in the syllabus. And there's about 45%. We have several readings. They'll be requiring a short 2-page summary. I'll have a rubric for those so that you know what to be able to look at in developing your paper. We'll have a final reflection paper, so that's 5%. There is class participation, which is 5%. And then there's professor points, which is based on how I see how you're performing and what you're adding, both in class and outside of class. And then peer assessments, and then there's 15%. And I feel it's a very important part of the class here, because teamwork is essential. It's an essential soft skill that will help you be successful in the future working in whatever job you're at. In many corporations, they have part of your performance review. It's called a 360, which is your peer review. So I don't know if you've had that in previous classes, but this is definitely a significant piece, and it's weighted. I use the CATME system out of Purdue, so it stays objective. But just to let you know, you get a midterm team assessment, and we do that so that at least you have a sense of how you're being viewed by your peers, but also give feedback to your peers. So this way, if there is an issue, you can right the ship. The team deliverables are 55%, and as you can see, we have a deliverables one set that will be literally on class in the second week. It's 5%. You'll have 2 in-class presentations. They're both worth 10% each, and one final client presentation, which is worth 20%. And then the client does weigh in on your grade as a team. And actually, I do have in their rubric that if somebody stands out, that we can be able to recognize an individual who stood out or someone who is detracted from the experience. So this is very important to understand that we're in a client-based class, and we want to make sure that we can take care of the client and deliver value. And we want to deliver value. We want to make sure we're focused on the client. Okay? We'll be professional in our conduct and dress. We want to be respectful in terms of time, be concise, organized, have a point person. Make sure when you have meetings, you add value, you bring data to support your position. I can tell you very straightforward, the feedback I've gotten from clients is those who come in, they're respectful, they ask good questions, they're proactive, and they bring data from their work, are those who are seen as being effective. And I think that's all we want to learn, is how you can be effective with the clients to make a difference. And you also think through your recommendations and actions by using data. And last but not least, that you're able to present and communicate well. And that's very important in terms of the communication, the clarity of communication, and how you communicate with the client can make or break your engagement. You also need to take your teamwork seriously. Share work. Be prepared. Be inclusive, respectful. Respect differences. Very important. We got to embrace the diversity that's going to be within our teams, as that's the reflection of what's in the work world today. And make sure, even when there might be a stressful time or an issue, that you can pull together. I had a team last fall, in fact, where we had 2 individuals out during like a 10-day period because of the flu, and also because one person had a surgical issue. And they were given a little flexibility. They pulled together. They did a great job for the client, and they did very, very well. So last but not least is perform. Because we're about as a team, and as you know, in the work world, it is about the team and not necessarily about the individual. And then in class, be there, really. Make sure you're on time, make sure you sign in, make sure you're engaged. That means electronically, computers off or off to the side, no cell phones. And I really want to make sure when we have discussions that you are involved, because I evaluate for class participation how engaged or not. And I do see, and I have eyes in my back of my head. Be focused, and last but not least, be respectful. Be respectful of each other in the class. I've seen some situations where that hasn't happened, and I think that one of the things about the work world is you may have differences relative to a particular issue, a recommendation, but at the end of the day is a good team, a good team player is respectful to the others. And all this adds up to class participation and class participation grade. And you need to be smart and strategic, okay? And that means, you know what? Ask good questions, and don't necessarily come and say, "Oh, I'm so confused about this." I'm not. In the real world, if you come into a boss and you say, "I'm so confused," what happens is that boss is actually gonna sort of wonder, did I make a good hire? So one of the tips I have is maybe to reframe your questions so that, can you help me better understand something? Can you help me have a better path to working with the client? So these are things that you need to think about that. So remember, ask questions, ask good questions that are relevant to the project, okay, and going to lead to success. And be attentive to your deliverables, okay? And that means 9 p.m. the due date, okay? Make sure I get it via email, same point person. Make sure your deliverables are formatted properly. What I mean by that is both the labeling of the external electronic file name as well as the internal file name. So this way, when I get a file coming in, I'm not getting, say, 7 files that all say the same thing. You need to designate based on your team number, the name of the assignment or the number of the assignment, the version number, and the date. And I prefer Microsoft platform documents versus PDFs or Google Docs. And the reason why is that in the work world, most people are not working with Google Docs. I know it's very convenient to work as a team. You can do that. But make sure you translate it out to me and to your clients in a format that we can be able to review, make comments on. And most of corporations and businesses are on Microsoft. And then last but not least is make sure your work is professional, okay? Just think of it as if you are presenting or giving something to a real client, you want to make sure that this reflects you and it reflects the class, but also the university. Then focus on your presentations. You'll have 3 through the class. As I said, we'll have the first one on Class 4, which will be the debrief of the initial client interaction. We'll have a midpoint presentation, which will sort of do a check-in relative to how we're doing with the project, how we're doing with the client, what's your path forward. So those are 3 key pieces that we will be talking about, plus some application of learnings from the different readings that you have. So remember, it's what and how you present it, not necessarily how you know. I've had companies where there's been a great presentation and the idea is maybe marginal, and where there's been great ideas but terrible presentations, that the better presentation wins out. So remember, form, which means on time, organized, professional, delivery. When you're giving that presentation, that you're looking at the audience, you're gesturing, you are making eye contact, you are really making sure that the audience is connected, you're using the pointer, you're punching home points, make sure you use your time well. And in the Q&A, you don't have 5 people answering the same question. Then content. Focus in on the key issues in the rubric. Okay, and this is very critical because I put together the rubric to give you a guide to focus in on what the key issues are. If you follow the rubric and you follow the feedback that we have with each debrief from presentations, you'll do just fine. And then make sure your content is addressing the client's job to do. And finally, anticipate questions and issues. In this way, you can have additional slides that go beyond the 10-minute or 9-minute requirement that I might have for a presentation, but allows you in your Q&A to be able to get deeper into some of the client's issues. Just a few other items. Remember, be ethical. It means don't make stuff up, don't plagiarize, and own your work. And that's very critical in many companies, is be responsible for your work. And then withdrawal from class. I actually had a situation a few years ago where a student just disappeared. I hate to say it, but it just disappeared. and we reached out to this individual to get a withdrawal, and unfortunately that student didn't respond. So communicate. Life happens. Issues happen. Communicate with them. We'll work with you on stuff. You need to work with a withdrawal, then that's where we need to move. It'd be hard to do an incomplete because of the nature of the client project and the teamwork that's there. So I'm going to encourage you to communicate with me so at least I'm aware. I've had students who've had illness. I've had students who've had emergencies. If you let me know, and we will try to find a workaround. So at the end of the day, it's about a client satisfaction relationship. We want to make sure clients are happy. And sometimes, that means these different pieces. But I like delivery, reliability, efficiency, and quality. We don't worry about price here, but if I had side conversations with clients, do ask for more. What we do try to make sure is that we keep them within scope. And that's about it. I look forward to seeing you in class on Monday and any questions that you might have about this video.